This is the most ridiculous, insane glass cockpit that we have ever built for the home flight simulation environment. It features the Virtual Fly Yoko Plus, the VRNIO on our pedestal, the RealSimGear G5 as a standby EFIS, the RealSimGear G1000. We're going to demo it. It's even got a compass, okay? So we're going to demo this right now in X-Plane. I'm going to walk you through all the features. This thing is absolutely awesome. Okay, so welcome back. I left one thing out, the Cessna 172 style flap lever. We got that in the panel as well, so that thing is absolutely awesome. But as you guys know, State Level Avionics, we make the panel that houses all of these different components, from the yoke to the throttle to the G1000, the G5, the GNS 43530. Look, whatever RealSimGear makes, we make a panel for the stuff to go into. And if we don't, we'll make you a custom panel for what you want. So ship us your Avionics, we make you a panel, and you really elevate the whole flight simulation experience. I mean, this thing looks beautiful in the home office. You can take it off your desk, put it somewhere else, bring it back. Nice leather glare shield. That's a nice foam padded glare shield. And this is, I came out with the glass cockpit video featuring the Yoko about a year ago. I think it was our ultimate video. So if you've seen the ultimate video, we're doing a simple and ultimate, quite a few different things. Well, this is now the insane video of this thing. If you guys are training in a 172, which is the most popular training aircraft out there, this is like the exact combination. This yoke, throttle, everything, this all feels, I love that, yoke and throttle. No more like the yoke and the throttle. I get them backwards here. But the yoke, it feels exactly like a 172. The throttle feels exactly like a 172, 182. So if you're running a constant speed prop, you got your blue lever here. I've done something kind of neat here with the G5. So RealSimGear came out with the G5. Awesome component. We're actually running a standby EFIS here. I understand those would typically be more of a vacuum powered gauge, but for the standbys. But we're doing an EFIS here, and it's kind of neat. You can actually go back and forth between the HSI and the PFD here, so really neat there. This is actually running off of AirManager, and the USB knob works, so you can use AirManager. I'll get into the details of that in a little bit, but you can use AirManager for the G5. You actually reflash it in AirManager if you don't want to fly a steam gauge 172 with the AFM software. This is the G1000 here. Look at this. This is beautiful. This is it right here. You got the PFD, you got the MFD, everything ready to go. Enough talking about the panel. Let's get into a demo. Let's see this whole thing in action. You can email me your questions, but let's get into the demo here. The demo for the insane 172 panel here. I've got the rudder pedals here below my feet. Hopefully you guys can see everything that I'm doing here. With the yoke, the throttle. Like I mentioned, we got the 172 flap lever over here. So I'm going to kind of go from we're at a taxiway right now. Okay, we're at a taxiway. We haven't gone anywhere. Real quick, this software here, and hopefully you can see it. But if you go into AirManager, you can go under Device, and you can go to this flash button here, and you can actually flash this G5 with Arduino Uno via AirManager, so everything works right here in the G5. Okay, if you didn't want to use a steam gauge Garmin Cessna 172 steam gauge G5, so it allows you to do something with the G1000. So if you want to have a standby gauge, or if you want to have the PFD, you can do that right here. So let's just go ahead and get started, just like we'd be in the real plane. So we started up, master. We'll go ahead, boom, boom. Flip your Avionics master on. These are all lights. We'll leave all that stuff as is. So this is pretty slick, pretty neat. G1000, you know, everything works just like we normally would be on all of our frequencies here. So if I go into, I'm gonna bring up ForeFlight here if you don't mind. This will make things a little bit easier. But one really neat thing here, I'm actually in ForeFlight, and I'm actually in the sim connected to X-Plane. So I'm gonna actually show you this right here. But when you go down to more, you go down to devices, it actually shows X-Plane is connected here. And hopefully you can see that. X-Plane's connected. So really pretty neat that that X-Plane is connected and actually showing me where I am on the map. It would also show me any traffic too, so that's pretty cool. So I can actually see traffic right here. And if I actually go into my traffic settings, I could actually, right now I'm hiding distant traffic. So if I take that away, I could go into here. There's a guy that's 35,000 feet above. And if you go over here as well, there he is, 35,300 feet. And on here, 35,300 feet, November 52008. He's going 533 knots right now. So you can see everything that you're seeing here, and effectively you can train in the comfort of your own home, learn how to use ForeFlight, everything on the ground, and not pay an instructor to teach you how to use ForeFlight. So the resources are just unbelievable here. So, you know, if I just want to do something very simple here, we can just go into, I'm just going to do a really simple, we're just going to navigate where we are right now. And what that's going to do is it's going to load up where we are. We go on GPS, so that's pretty slick. I mean, this is all just, you know, the G1000, so there's not much to do here. You know, you could go to transponder if you wanted to type in a code. If you were, you know, working in Pilot Edge and you were assigned a code, you could type it in there. You could go VFR 1200. So, you know, all this stuff is basically real. So what I can do here is I can load up the ATIS here. So that's 125 on COM2. 125.85. And I should hear the ATIS. Let's hear it.
For Avionics information on 2100
Look at that.
weather.
I mean, this is great.
Visibility
So this is just like everything you're going to do in real life. You got your compass pointing north. So what I want to do next is I want to just go and taxi. I want to go taxi onto the runway, do a very simple traffic pattern. You can see the G5 working. You'll be able to see the G1000 working. You'll be able to see the instruments here, everything here. You know, even if I wanted to do a little fuel work, I can even do fuel. If I want to reset the fuel, increase how many gallons remaining, all this kind of stuff. This is all being drawn from X-Plane and the functionality in X-Plane. So, yeah, I mean, I don't want to get, you know, deep into ForeFlight here. We could do planning on here. We could do the whole thing. You know, you're going to go up for the $100 hamburger in Wisconsin. You could plan the whole thing here, fly it, and then fly it in real life the next day. I mean, there's just so much capability to this whole thing, especially with a lot of people at home lately. So I'm gonna stop talking, and we're gonna actually do a flight here. Remember, I had to pause it, start a new clip because that's my camera. I got to get a new one for video recording. I got some GoPros going here, so we're starting to get a little bit more technology savvy. To say the least. So what we can do here is we can go and we'll just taxi here to 27. This should be Alpha 2. And so, you know, you would have gone back, you would have done all your run up. You could even add a checklist into the whole thing in your flight bag, or a real checklist if you wanted to.
Approaching runway 27.
And there it is. You hear that? That was ForeFlight actually going off, just like it would in the plane. So, you know, let's say we want to do our run up here. Okay, so let's go ahead and we do our run up. Well, one, we're going to check that our controls are free and correct, you know, just doing all these things. But 1800. There it is. First out of mags. So we're seeing everything in the green. Back to 1800. Second set. Everything's in the green, looking good. Check idle. Get a little vacuum, get that. And then we're back. Okay, so once again, we're doing everything just as we would there. So so at that point, you know, we would do that, and we'd start to progress. Here we'd be cleared for takeoff.
Approaching runway 27. Entered runway 27. 6,000 feet remaining.
So I mean, this is ForeFlight in the sim. I mean, if I really wanted to, I could actually be drawing breadcrumbs here. So if you want, I could actually do that. I think I can turn on the breadcrumbs here. Yeah, why not? Let's do it. Okay, so we're gonna unpause it, and I'll show you the breadcrumbs here after the fact. You could even take the data and really look at what you want to do. Crosswind correction is important here, so I'm going to pause it again real quick. But know where your wind is coming from. Set your bug there, and then, you know, if your bug's over here, your crosswind correction for your ailerons is over here. If your wind is to the left, you're to the left. Once again, this is not flight training here, but remember, if it's behind you, you want to dive away from it. So there, you're going that way. That's really important, and the reason for that is because the Cessna is so light on the ground, you don't want it to flip over and tip over as you're taxiing around the airport. All right, so we'll go ahead. Flaps are already 10. The doctor prescribed a little bit more right rudder, so definitely give it some right rudder. And 55 knots, and we'll start to rotate. But you can see both of them are alive right here, right? So both of them, airspeed's alive. There's 55 knots. We're gonna look to climb out at 74 knots. So if you had a trim wheel, you go to a little forward trim. I have trim right here, electric trim on the yoke. You can see my compass is all aligned with our departure. There's 74 knots. Flaps up. Keep that climb coming up at 74. Checking all my instruments here. Everything is still in the green. 1200 AGL is when we're gonna start making that first turn. That's 500 AGL. 1,200 feet here is where we're going to start making that first turn. And we'll do a left traffic pattern here, for example. And so keep that turn in, get that coordination here. Keep it coordinated. Keep that climb coming up. So again, you can zoom in if you wanted to. You're looking there, I'm going to be looking for south. So there comes south right here. Start to level off. The magic recipe should be about 2100, 2130 in downwind, about 90 knots, and 1700 feet. That's what we're going for. Gonna keep it coordinated. So at this point, we're going to start getting ready for the midfield check, right? So that'd be seat belts, fuel selector on both. Doors are locked. Everybody's prepared for landing. You just want to go through those things. So here I am. I'm at 2040, 1700, 95 knots. So pretty close there. And so remember, under 110. So if you look here, you can actually see my breadcrumbs. Hopefully this is coming through on the camera, GoPro. You can actually see it. So I'm doing all of this in ForeFlight right here. So here it is. Look how cool this is, huh? All right, so once again though, when you're landing, don't get distracted by all these gizmos and gadgets. Just fly the plane, okay? So now, I'm gonna turn this down a little, it's a little loud. So at this point, you know, we're beam the numbers, so we can come back on the power. Under 110, first notch of flaps, a little forward trim, keep it coming. And at this point here, we can now start to make our first turn in. We got a nice 450 to 500 foot descent going right now. It's really nice. Keep it a very stabilized approach is what we're looking for. So this is great training. You know, if you're going to be going and taking a lesson the next day, You need to work on some IFR procedures here. You know, you can load up all your approaches and you can actually fly them all. If you want to put up any RNAV, GPS approaches, anything like that, you can do all those kinds of things. So we'll keep the power in here.
Short final runway 27.
So there it says we're on short final for 27. We're a little bit high, so we'll put some flaps in here. Get our seat crate going a little bit more. Back on the power as well. Keep that nose pointed down. Keep that airflow coming over the wings. But once again, I mean, the G5's all working. This is all working. The whole thing is just fantastic. And this yoke and throttle feel great. Coming right here. Looking down at the end of the runway there. Just like so. The nice thing about this flap lever is you can go all the way up and then down real quick 10, just like you'd be doing touch and goes if you had the option. Another really neat thing here in ForeFlight is it now just loaded up my taxi diagram. Okay, so one thing you got to look at, if you're landing in real life, think about this. You land with your taxi diagram. I'm kind of all over the place here, so you got to be really careful with these electronic devices that you're not getting too focused on them and literally driving off the runway. So don't forget that. But what I can do, I can actually close that out. I can actually see my breadcrumbs from the pattern before, so that was kind of neat. I can actually see those there. So so once again, using those features of ForeFlight to be able to learn ForeFlight on the ground. So next, you know, I'll go ahead, I'll put the flaps up. I'm just going to taxi off here. I don't need to show you guys a right-hand traffic pattern. I think you guys get the point. But this is great. I mean, this is our pedestal mounting system here. So we've designed this to work just with the VRNIO throttle here from Virtual Fly. I mean, you can see here they twist. I mean, this is just like the real thing. You know, it's got autopilot, flight director, all this kind of stuff. So yeah, so hey, thanks again for tuning in for another video, and we'll see you guys. Have a great night.